Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and a very special welcome to a man who's in the Gold Coast. And we were talking just before how cold it is on the Gold Coast, but for those of you who are in Melbourne, cold and like 20 degrees is not cold from the Melbourneites' point of view. Mr. Coen Fryer, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You were saying just before that you live really close to the beach,
I
and
do.
it's a bit chilly now.
It is. It's very chilly compared to what I'm used to, at least.
Yeah.
Definitely rugging up, that's for sure.
Well, for the people who are listening, the way to spot a Victorian in the Gold Coast, particularly this time of year, is they're the ones that are walking down the beach with t-shirts on, singlets on, no shirts at all. And they're the ones in the water with no wetsuits, and all the locals are probably the
Yeah,
ones that have got the puffer jackets on.
that's it. Every morning. Every morning.
Mad. Absolutely mad.
It
So,
is.
Coen, hey, great to have you on the podcast. You're the co-founder of PeakAI Health.
Correct.
And we're going to do something a little bit different today because we normally talk to sales leaders around principles around sales and leadership. We're going to come from a completely different angle today and talk about optimization of health and how important health is, and maintaining good, vibrant, I guess, health ecosystem is pivotal to our ability to be exceptional. And whether you're a busy professional, salesperson, sales leader, entrepreneur, the next 40 or 45 minutes or so should provide you with some great insights in terms of how you can take your most important vessel, being your body, and turn it into hopefully an award-winning and income generating machine. So for the listeners' benefit, can you just give us a little bit of background on the world that is Coen Fryer, and what got you into this particular sphere in health optimization?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me personally, I've always been into the fitness side of things. I've been into the fitness industry. In fact, when I was about 17, I started as a gym receptionist. And then from there, I became a one-on-one personal trainer. So even from a young age with my first job, I've been exposed to the fitness industry. In fact, at the age of 18, I actually stepped on my first bodybuilding stage. Amazing experience. Amazing experience. Probably one of the most difficult and challenging things I have ever done and
Yeah.
will ever do. 22 weeks of straight dieting. It was tough. Zero carbs, zero fats, purely just protein for a good half of that. Um, and all this stuff just plays into my love for fitness. I'm not so much into the bodybuilding side of things as much as I was a couple years back. But that's just because my mindset has kind of shifted on it. Not that I dislike it.
Mhm.
But right now, with what I'm currently focusing on, is I did get largely into the nutrition side, the DNA side, the genetic side, all this different stuff. And I started using biohacking myself just to kind of, even you could say, trial and error. You scroll on Instagram and social media a lot nowadays, and people are always talking about the next best thing, carnivore, keto, all these different things, and it's hard to know what to try and what actually works best. So that's why I kind of like the DNA approach, because you don't know what actually works best for you until you actually know what's going
Mm.
on inside of your body. So I kind of did these tests myself and got into it myself. And then that's when I kind of fell down this other line of completely optimizing my health. And so many other benefits came from it, which entrepreneurs and busy professionals often struggle with.
Mm.
And that is your typical things like stress, brain fog, getting demotivated, having inconsistent energy to the point where a lot of us rely on caffeine And when we drink caffeine, we drink it to kind of mitigate the effects of having that afternoon crash, when in reality, it's the caffeine giving us that crash.
Mm.
And just a lot of these different things that I've personally, trial and error, as I said, uh, it really has made a big difference in my outlook in it.
Nice, nice. So from 18 being a bodybuilder now to being a biohacking, I guess, science experiment. Can we start then with just a for people listening, just a like a workman's or a common language definition of what health optimization is?
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, a good way that I put it, for biohacking in particular, is that there is a lot of different definitions, and there's actually different types of biohacking that people typically do as well. You have different ones like lifestyle.
Hmm.
You have different ones like your technology for biohacking as well. Um, but typically, for what I'm doing, it is the lifestyle and the technology side. Um, Now, for the biohacking, the main definition of it, I would say, uh, it's hard because health optimization is a lot of different things, but biohacking in particular has different definitions, and the main one I personally would use is it involves making incremental changes to someone's body. And that's in regard to diet and lifestyle to pretty much improve health and well-being from,
Hmm.
an overall perspective is what I would typically say to that.
Yeah. And when you talk about making changes, are we talking about doing things like going from smoking 2 packets a day of cigarettes to cold turkey, none, or is it just a gradual thing that you manage the weaning off process and reintroduce probably better habits to
Yeah.
hopefully implement sustainability?
Yeah. So good question. Um, Typically, if I'm going to talk about lifestyle biohacking in particular, which is the one I primarily want to focus on for this, it's and the reason why is because it's probably the most accessible way most people can start experience biohacking.
Yep.
And this includes dietary shifts, breath work, meditation, and exercise as well.
Okay.
Now, typically, there are a couple energy related biohacking examples, and these are the use of sleep tracking devices, the wearing of blue light blocking glasses. It can be light therapy as well for circadian rhythm regulation. It can be the use of meditation apps for sleep support, stress relief, or a bit of both.
Yep.
It can be the consumption of supplements like vitamin B12 and magnesium, and can also be timed caffeine ingestion as well. So, really, whether a person is seeking weight loss, metabolic efficiency, or even just better digestion, biohacking and food go hand in hand because controlling what, how, and when one eats is a biohack most people can readily understand.
Mm. And with that, because there'll be some people listening to this and say, "Hey, I don't eat breakfast. My breakfast is a cup of coffee at 10 o'clock or whatever. I do intermittent fasting."
Mm.
And it was really interesting. I was listening to a podcast last week from a high performance coach who was talking about all these different, and I think you mentioned it before, the keto and Atkins and all these different diets, right? They don't necessarily apply to every single person. So when you're working with somebody, and we'll talk about the kind of clients that you work with, what sort of analysis do you have to do to try and figure out for that individual what is going to be the best source of biohacking strategy for them?
Yeah, okay. So it in essence, there are a few different tests. And there is two particular companies that I always get all of my clients to go through. And the reason why is because for a lot of the bloods and DNA kind of companies out there, is they typically only do the ancestral side, which I have nothing against. But for this kind of analysis and information that we're trying to receive, ancestral just isn't going to give us enough information.
Hmm.
So the companies that I typically refer all of my clients to, uh, two companies called Inside Tracker and Lifetime's DNA.
Hmm.
Now, there are three main types of DNA tests on the market. That's going to be Y chromosome, mitochondrial, and autosomal. And each of these tests produce different information. Now, unfortunately, as I said, for a lot of the tests out there, it's typically only ancestral, which is a good test about your background.
Yeah.
But the key things about these two companies and why I personally use them myself and get my clients to is because Inside Tracker, for one, is personalized health and wellness platform that aims to help people optimize specifically their biomarkers to live healthier and longer lives. So what it does is it analyzes genetics, it analyzes behaviors, and it also analyzes goals to give you personalized nutrition, fitness, sleep, stress, and supplementation recommendations. So it's almost like you get the test done. You have a couple of different options as well. You can either get an at-home kit, or you have the option of basically them delivering a blood test van to your house. Depends which one you want to go through. And then pretty much you get the blood test done, you wait for the results. Once the results get uploaded, it's going to actually spit out all these recommendations for you into an app, and it's literally right there in front of your face. Really good stuff. And for Lifetime's DNA, this one's good because it leverages cutting edge advancements in genomics, bioinformatics, and data analysis. Now, the this company is a little bit different because it actually has, as a part of the test, it includes a methylation test, which everyone should be getting done at least once a year. And honestly, it's not often you'll come across a company that does methylation as well.
And what's methylation?
Yeah, so methylation is pretty much the process. Um, it, it's pretty much a chemical modification of DNA and other molecules that may be retained as cells. So it's to put it simply, it's basically a chemical reaction that happens in the body in which small molecules called methyl groups get added to DNA, proteins, and other molecules. Um, Now, methylation is good because it's the key in regards to turning on genes that lead to good health, but also in the opposite, in turning off genes that lead to poor health.
Hmm. Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
So with that, and we'll talk about I guess some of the strategies that you work with clients on. When when you're working with busy professionals, entrepreneurs, sales leaders, people who are just busy, what are some of the key and this might sound like an obvious question, but it doesn't. There might be some depth behind it. What are some obvious signs, if you like, that they need to optimize their health? Now, I can think back to my own corporate career in terms of, working too longer hours, not getting enough sleep, not prioritizing exercise and stuff like that. But that potentially is what you see on the surface level. Are there other things that potentially could be at play that might lead to somebody needing to really consider this concept of health optimization, which then leads to this process you're talking around biohacking?
Yeah. So I think for a lot of entrepreneurs and busy professionals, their primary focus is purely into their business, which is okay because, like, to be honest, it should be, especially if they really are trying to do good in the world. And for for a lot of people, and when I say people, I'm talking to these entrepreneurs and busy professionals, but typically for these people, they're primarily focused on wealth and building the wealth and generating the wealth. And because of that, oftentimes when an opportunity comes to better their health or increase their health, they'll push it to the side
Mm.
because their primary focus is on building that wealth. But many times have I come across situations where these people will get to where they want to get in terms of their wealth. And once they actually reach that point, then they start to realize that they should have been building up their health at the same time. And the
Mm.
reason is when you're not focusing on your health and you purely are just having sleepless nights and you're having times where you're just sat at your desk working for 6, 9, 12 hours a day, there are tons of things that you're doing to your body which you're just you're almost doing yourself worse than you are better. And as I said, I've seen this multiple times myself as well with these kind of people where I try to open their eyes to what is actually happening to their body. And a lot of the times, a healthy and optimal routine, they're doing the opposite of. And the kind of signs that I always typically see from these people is that they are extremely stressed and they're so caught up in just getting to where they want to be that everything else is irrelevant to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an unhealthy way to think. So I think for a lot of people, mindset should be a key focus and kind of shifting their mindset into abundance.
Mm.
Because true wealth, and I genuinely mean this, true wealth is abundance. It's not just having X amount in your bank account, right? Like even that there's been a few like news articles recently on Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, all these guys getting ripped, shredded, jacked. And I mean, at the end of the day, if billionaires can do it, then I'm sure people running 6, 7, 8 figure teams, can also do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my whole mindset on it. Now, something that I always practice myself is two things, and they kind of play into one. And that's the number one thing is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't just meditate every single day. I also do law of attraction. Now, some people might know this, some people might not. Um, it's it's becoming very popular in today's age, actually. But law of attraction is pretty much, to keep it simple, it's quantum physics and quantum manifestation. So it's basically visualizing something so far into the future that you create your own reality around it that you're basically already there. And so I think what a lot of these people should start doing with their mindset is to start implement this. And what they're going to quickly realize is that abundance is what they truly need and what they truly should be desiring, and not just the wealth, because a lot of them really do regret it once they've made it because they pushed everything back to the side. And that's
Mm.
not to say that once you are there, you can't still get there, but you're going to do yourself a really big favor if you can already start working on it while also building the wealth, which is
Mm.
100% possible.
And part of that is to remove yourself from distractions and be really, really clear on who you surround yourself with. Because if you look at society, whether you just have to look at Facebook or X or Twitter or Instagram, and there's a lot of information. Look at any news outlet, and they're throwing information at you that perhaps doesn't lend itself to, let's just say, abundant thinking or law of attraction. So What are some specific areas around that you've been working with people on? Because I mean, the law of attraction, from my point of view, has been around for 20 plus years and probably is not as well known as it could be. And there's a lot of, I guess, negative Nancy's out there that talked about, particularly the biggest one was the book they called The Secret, which talks about, hey, just pretty much wish for a bicycle and there you go, you're going to manifest it. But what they forgot to mention was you've got to do a shitload of work in order to get that as well. So there needs to be some marrying up of the vision, the articulation, the constant meditation around that, but also the action required to get that result. Um, what are some tangible things that you've been working on or the clients you're working with in this whole health space that's helped them do that? Um, because part of it is to, as I said before, remove the distractions and really only focus in on the things that will drive you towards that optimal result.
Yeah, 100%. So the connection between mindset and health is profound. And as a positive and a resilient mindset can significantly impact physical well-being. So a healthy mindset helps in managing stress, making healthier lifestyle choices, and maintaining the motivation needed to pursue fitness goals. Now, research shows that individuals with a positive outlook on life tend to have lower levels of stress and inflammation, better immune function, and even longer lifespans as well. And this is because a positive mindset can influence the release of stress hormones such as cortisol and also enhance mental resilience, which in turn supports physical health.
Mm,
So, with this, the law of attraction, it pretty much suggests that visualizing success and maintaining positive affirmations can help manifest desired health outcomes. So, setting realistic and achievable goals, along with celebrating small victories, boosts confidence and motivation. And cognitive behavioral strategies, such as reframing negative thoughts and focusing on solutions rather than problems, enhances mental resilience. And regular physical activity, a balanced diet, and also adequate sleep further supports a healthy mindset by improving mood and energy levels.
mm,
Now, numerous clients have transformed their health through mindset changes. And for instance, one of my clients struggled with, in particular, weight management and chronic stress, which impacted his overall health. And by adopting a mindset focus on growth and positivity, he began to see exercise not as a chore, but as a rewarding activity. And I think this is something a lot of people should really start focusing on, is that simple mindset shift, because it really does make a big difference. Every day, he also practiced daily gratitude and he reframed setbacks as learning opportunities. And he engaged in regular mindfulness meditation. And over time, just because of those small changes, he lost significant weight, his stress levels decreased, and he reported feeling more energetic and positive.
mm,
I think a really interesting one here as well. In 2023, research published in Health Psychology looked at the connection between positive thinking and healthy actions taken by young adults. And the study found a correlation between an optimistic outlook and health enhancing behaviors like physical activity, nutrition, and stress management, supporting the idea that fostering optimism could be a useful tool in the promotion of healthy lifestyles and the prevention of chronic diseases as well.
mm,
Now, for a lot of you listening to this, the common question is probably how to develop a positive mindset. So I do want to touch base on that. And although positive thinking can't necessarily heal disease or injury, the research does suggest that in some cases it can definitely have benefits for those with health issues. And people people do want quick fix solutions, but being healthy is about making small choices over and over. And one thing that helps with that is thinking positively about the result you want.
mm,
Now, I'm sure many of us can agree, we almost always feel better when we make a healthy choice. So framing these choices positively and constantly reaffirming them to ourselves helps us to repeat them over and over. So here are some strategies to encourage a healthy mindset. Number one is to keep a gratitude journal. So regularly write down the things you're thankful for, as well as healthy goals that you see yourself achieving in the future, whether that's running, enjoying a holiday, or even something as simple as cooking a nutritious meal for the family, whatever it might be. Everyone is obviously different in that regard. Number two is to make your goals manageable. So break down your goals into small steps so they're more manageable. If your goal is losing weight, then seek help from a GP or a coach with obviously the programs on that side, or do a bit of your own research into it.
Mm.
Number three is to strengthen your social connections. Now, according to Lifeline, healthy connections with friends, family members, co-workers, and acquaintances can help you build resilience and even make you physically healthier. Reaching out to a friend, family member, or neighbor who you haven't spoken to in a while is a great way to rekindle a social connection.
Mm.
Number four is to prioritize positivity. So arrange your schedule to include an activity that brings you joy once a week, even if it's as simple as setting aside, half an hour to read uninterrupted. Try to be around optimistic people, just like you said earlier, as much as
Yeah.
possible, because their positive outlook on life can be contagious.
Mm.
And number five, this one probably you weren't expecting, but don't value happiness too highly. Now, this sounds counterintuitive, but forcing yourself to feel optimistic when you truly don't feel that way can backfire. So if you feel down, try finding some calm first. So, for example, with deep breathing or mindfulness.
That one's an interesting one because there's a lot of talk out there to say, hey, just decide to be happy wherever you're at. And depending on who you listen to, they'll say, well, I mean, particularly the positive psychology movement will say that nothing's a problem, everything's an opportunity. Just suck it up and move on and look for the positivity out there. I tend to think, you know what? Sometimes shit's going to happen, and sometimes stuff that's going to happen and it's out of your control. It's okay to not feel fantastic, right? What's not okay is to stay there. So identify where you're at, but also think about how can I start to take a step forward and move towards being more positive, be more optimistic, and that's taking that growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And over time, and that could be 10 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be a day, you'll start to feel better. And then if you add that to the four previous points you talked about, such as the gratitude journal, managing goals, strengthening your social connections, and then prioritizing positivity, and that's where the reframing comes in, you're more likely to build some consistency around that, which means, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll get your take on this. When the stuff that does happen, which has the tendency to knock you off your axis, it's going to have over time less of an effect, and you'll be able to bounce back quicker.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, Even smaller things like yoga or literally running, if you can just simply change your perspective to enjoy those things, your life will change
Mm.
drastically.
Mm.
And even something as small as cardio, for example, often now in today's society, it's villainized and everyone hates it because everyone thinks that it has to be this high intensity thing and they have to be doing sprints for 25 minutes in order to whatever their goal, to lose weight, lose fat, whatever. When I mean, of course you're going to hate it if you're doing it for that. And to be honest, I don't even use cardio for like when I'm trying to lose weight. I don't necessarily do cardio to lose weight. I do cardio for the health benefits, the
Mm.
cardiovascular benefits of it. And just in general, the feeling that I get after I do, whether it be a hard cardio session or a relatively easy one,
Mm.
I feel 10 times better and ready to conquer my day in comparison to sitting on my couch eating potato chips. Right. And I think that's a very big difference. And even right there, that's a mindset shift that I've made for myself, but it's as I said, it's changed my life for the better as it's
Mm.
changed many others.
So when you think about that and you talk about, you mentioned stress and things like that, there'll be people listening to this to say, yeah, well, that's all well and good. But Cohen, you don't understand. I have so much on my plate right now. I am so important, inverted commas, to the business. I can't afford to dedicate time to this and that. What do you say to those people? Because I've got certain beliefs around those type of people, and I've seen it. I've seen it in corporate where there were people who wore a badge, like a badge of honor, the fact that they didn't take lunch breaks, they didn't take annual leave, and if you watch them over time, it's almost like the aging process sped up for them, and they looked less and less healthy, and they got older quicker. What do you say to these people? Because I'm sure there are people out there that say, "Mate, I don't need all this stuff. I'm too important. I'm too busy, trying to make my fortune here."
Yeah, look, there's a lot of them, more than I would like to admit that there is. Um, but look, to be honest, like I myself, a lot of people don't look at me as an entrepreneur because I'm preaching this, right? And I'm a health optimization coach, but a lot of people don't look at me as, that side of things, me trying to run my own business,
Mm,
that type of stuff, right? And the reality of the situation is everyone has their own busy schedule. And that there are some people that quite literally have meetings and calls back to back to back to back. But the reality of the situation is it's very unlikely that you quite literally are working 9 hours nonstop. You
yep.
have zero breaks. That is unlikely. And even if that is the case, there are always things that you can do to change that. For example, let's say someone came to me and they were like, "Oh, Coen, I can't fit in fitness, or I can't fit in that in my schedule because I wake up at 5 a.m. and I finish at 9 p.m. I have zero time in my day." I'll say to their face straight up, okay, wake up at 4 a.m. Like what's stopping you getting up at 4 a.m., getting in a 30-40 minute session and then starting the day?
Yep.
Or it can be the opposite. Maybe you can finish at 9 p.m. and then you can go for a quick 30-minute session and then go to bed at whatever, 9:40 or 10 o'clock.
Mm,
I wouldn't personally recommend that because if you actually work out late at night, there has been studies to show that that actually does keep you up, so that will impact your sleep.
mm,
So if you do have the option, I will always suggest that you get it over and done with early in the morning. But the reality of the situation is that there's always something that you can do to fit it in.
mm,
And I understand there could be long hours, there could be frequent travel, and there could be, honestly, pressure to meet deadlines. And it can often lead to fatigue. It can often lead to decreased motivation for physical activity. And additionally, the sedentary nature of many professional roles can result in a lack of physical movement throughout the day.
mm,
And I think something that's really closely associated with this is stress.
mm,
And stress really is associated with high pressure jobs. And it can contribute to unhealthy habits such as poor eating, inadequate sleep, and further complicating efforts to maintain a fitness routine.
mm,
So typically, what I'll tell people is to incorporate workout strategies that fit into tight schedules. And they do exist. The first one is high intensity interval training, also known as HIIT. And this is an effective method as it provides maximum benefits in a short amount of time, often requiring just 20 to 30 minutes per session. And utilizing small windows of time throughout the day, such as during lunch breaks or early mornings, can be effective. And incorporating physical activity into daily routines, like it could even be small things, like taking the stairs instead of the elevator or
mm,
walking during phone calls, can help increase overall movement. And something I've personally tried and tested myself, because when I originally was building my business, I actually kind of found myself in this loop, in this negative feedback loop. And I was sat at my desk working. And even then, I personally myself was like, okay, well, I got to try and find some time to get, a quick workout in. And this is kind of where I led to these techniques. And this is kind of how I discovered them and tried and tested them myself, and made sure that they worked because I was in a similar same situation.
Mhm.
So I kind of created something myself, called NJR, called No Junk Reps. And it's basically one set of 15 reps backed with 4 sets of 5 reps. And this ensures the workout is still fairly intense, but you can smash through it while still seeing great results. My other co-founder, actually Nick, created that, and we both tried and tested it, and it really does produce exceptional results. Now, another great tool that I personally use, when I know that I've got a busy week, is what I like to call time blocking,
Mhm.
where specific blocks of time are allocated to different tasks or activities throughout the day. So, for example, a professional could block out 30 minutes in the morning for a HIIT workout or an hour during lunch for a brisk walk or a gym session. And this approach, not only helps in organizing the day more efficiently, but it also ensures that fitness becomes a non-negotiable part of the schedule. And a great trick in the book is to plan your workout session like it's $1 million meeting,
Mhm.
so that it's a non-negotiable that you have to attend in order to get to where you want to be, right? Like imagine you're about to hop on a call with Jeff Bezos and it's about to take your business to the next level. Think of it like that. And once again, that falls into the mindset shift.
Mhm.
Mindset is a big role.
Well, it's about the prioritization, isn't it? So as you mentioned there, big rock, because it's interesting, and I say to leaders all the time that if they don't control or have control over their diary, other people will. So others will control the agenda. So and the thing with what you're talking about there is particularly time blocking. It's easy to put it in your diary, but it's equally easy not to A, put it in the diary, but B, when it's in the diary, not to do it. Right. So there has to be a follow-up in terms of, okay, what's either the reward or what are the consequences if I don't do it? So the idea about treating it like $1 million meeting and say it's non-negotiable is a good strategy to do that. Because when you think about it, we've all got 96 15-minute increments in every single day. And you could literally take two of those per day and do something for your cardiovascular health or your mental health, and that will only enhance performance for the rest of the day rather than have it as an afterthought. Oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it next week. Oh, I've got this report to do. My boss wants to
Exactly.
see me, so I better prioritize that.
Yeah.
It just comes down to choice. So, um, now the other thing you talked about there around stress, and probably similar to what you talked about before in terms of breath work and meditation. Are there any other techniques that you have helped your clients with around stress, um, that is in addition to things like breath work and meditation? Really interested in that because it's certainly a big thing that I come up against a lot in the industries that I work in with leaders who have big targets to hit, lots of expectations, lots of responsibility.
Yeah. So it's a good question. A lot of our stress and the reason why we actually struggle to sleep is, funny enough, it's actually down to our breath. So the reason why meditation is, it's so popular to, like, as a de-stressing tool, is because that's completely centralized around our breath and slowing down our CNS, our central nervous system. So you need to activate your body's natural relaxation response and a state of deep rest that almost puts the brake on stress and slows your breathing and slows your heart rate. And techniques that also lower your blood pressure and basically just brings your body and mind back into balance. So typically, the most common ones that I will always use myself and I always get my clients to use as well, is practicing relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, rhythmic exercise, yoga, or even things like Tai Chi.
Hmm.
Now, most relaxation techniques can be done on your own, or it can be done as well with the aid of a free audio download or inexpensive smartphone app.
Mm.
With its focus on full cleansing breaths, deep breathing it's a simple yet powerful relaxation technique because it's easy to learn and can be practiced almost anywhere, and it provides a quick way to get your stress levels in check.
Mm.
So a common one that I always use myself is to sit comfortably with your back straight, put one hand on your chest and the other on your stomach. You want to breathe through your nose. The hand on your stomach should rise and the hand on your chest should move very little.
Hmm.
And you want to exhale through your mouth, pushing out as much air as you can while contracting your abdominal muscles. And the hand on your stomach should move in as you exhale, but your other hand should move very little. And continue to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And try to exhale enough so that your lower abdomen rises and falls.
Hmm.
Count slowly as you exhale. And another one as well is it's similar to law of attraction, but it is a little bit different. And that's visualization or even guided imagery. And this is a variation on traditional meditation that involves imagining a scene in which you feel at peace and you're free. You're free to let go of all your tension and anxiety. So typically, for me, I always choose whatever setting is most calming. And that could be a tropical beach, it could be a favorite childhood spot, or it could even be a quiet wooded house in the
Hmm.
forest. And you can also choose to do your visualization in silence, or once again, using aids such as soothing music or a sound machine or a recording that matches your chosen setting.
Hmm.
So the sound of ocean waves, if you've chosen a beach, for example. And for this one, you want to close your eyes and you want to imagine your restful place. So picture it as vividly as you can. Everything you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. Just looking at it in your mind's eye, like you would a photograph, isn't enough. Because visualization works best if you incorporate as many sensory details as possible. So enjoy the feeling of your worries drifting away as you slowly explore that restful place. And then mindfulness can become extremely popular. It has become extremely popular in recent years, and it's even I've seen it on headlines and endorsements for celebrities, business leaders, psychologists. Because the reason why, and that's not a coincidence, the reason why is because meditations can cultivate mindfulness. It has long been used to reduce stress, anxiety, depression, and other negative emotions as well.
Hmm.
So some of these practices bring you into the present by focusing your attention on a single repetitive action, such as your breathing or a few repeated words, right? So it really is a powerful tool. And typically, if you're doing it right, it's all you will ever need in order to relax.
Hmm.
And if you do it once a day, you just try setting aside at least 10 to 20 minutes a day for whichever practice you want to do. And if your schedule is already packed, then just try meditating while it could literally be while commuting on the bus, train, airplane, uh, whichever, right? And just even taking a yoga break at lunchtime or practicing a mindful walking while
Hmm.
exercising your dog, just small things like this, right? And an important thing as well is to expect ups and downs, because sometimes it can take time to actually practice and start reaping the full rewards.
Hmm.
Sometimes people will do one session or one guided meditation session, and after it, they're like, I feel the
Nothing's
same.
changed.
Yeah,
Nothing's
I feel the
changed.
same, you know. But the more you stick with it, the sooner your results will come. And that's another mindset, that shift that you have to keep telling yourself. And it is the truth as well.
And the more you do that, because it flows on to the next tip I want to talk about, which is the importance of sleep. So if people are stressed, it has a direct impact on not only the, I guess, the internal mechanisms of the body and how it operates, but also how you actually can decompress at the end of the day. So if stuff hasn't been dealt with, chances are you'll be thinking and you'll be processing all this information, which makes it really difficult to sleep. It's a really obvious question, but how important is sleep to high performance?
Um, it's very important. Uh, I wouldn't even say it's important for high performers in particular. I would say it's important for every single person,
Hmm.
every single person. And the reason why is because sleep is the foundation of everything we do, from how we wake up to how we feel to how we go to bed. From everything in between is quite literally the impact of sleep. And a lot of people as well, they'll do this, they'll do this common thing, and that's that they'll fix their nutrition, but their sleep will still be messed up.
Hmm.
And then they'll wake up the next day feeling the same, wondering why it isn't working. And the reality is, if you don't fix all of them at once, of course it's not going to change, especially when you're not changing the most important thing, and that's sleep.
Hmm.
Now, when you fall asleep, you enter what's called non-REM sleep, and that's when your blood pressure and your heart rate fall. So during sleep, your parasympathetic system controls your body, and your heart rate does not work as hard as it does when you're awake, obviously. And during REM sleep and when waking, your sympathetic system is activated, which increases your heart rate and blood pressure. And according to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, people who do not sleep enough or wake up often during the night may have a high risk of coronary heart disease, high blood pressure, obesity, and even stroke.
Hmm.
So something to note is that your body makes different hormones at different times of the day. Now, this may be related to your sleep pattern or your circadian clocks. Now, when I say circadian clock and circadian rhythm, I want you to think of your body literally like a clock. You have to do certain things in order to set this clock, right? And in the morning, your body releases hormones that promote alertness, such as cortisol, which helps you wake up.
Hmm.
And the way your body handles fat varies according to various circadian clocks, including those in the liver, fat, and the muscle. So, for example, the circadian clocks make sure that your liver is prepared to help digest fats at appropriate times, and your body may handle fat differently if you eat at unusual times. So, studies have shown that not getting enough quality sleep, and I say quality with almost like with bold letters around it, because it has to be quality sleep. A lot of people look at the duration of their sleep, and that's it. They'll say, "Oh, I got 8 hours of sleep last night.
Hmm.
Awesome." Unfortunately, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. And when I say quality sleep, I mean things like sleep hygiene, I mean things like your sleep environment. And I'm going to touch base on this as well. But another thing as well is consistent sleep. A lot of the times when it gets to the weekend, guess what people do? They lay around. They have that Sunday where they stay asleep till 10 a.m.
Yep.
But they're waking up at 5 a.m. throughout the week. You're only messing up your circadian clock for when it gets to Monday, and you're going to feel like crap again.
Hmm.
So it's important that if your schedule is you wake up at 5 and you go to bed at 9, you do this every single day. Now, as I was saying, not getting enough quality sleep can lead to higher levels of the hormones that actually control your hunger, which are leptin and ghrelin inside of your body. Decreased ability to respond to insulin, which is never good. Uh, Increased consumption of food, especially fatty, sweet, and salty foods,
Hmm.
decreased physical activity, and even sometimes metabolic syndromes. So now that we understand how important it is, here are some ways we can actually fix or better our sleep. So the results of a small 2022 study suggest that daytime bright light exposure can improve sleep quality and duration. So for this reason, it's a good idea to get daily sunlight exposure. And if that's not possible for you, then invest in artificial bright light devices or bulbs. This includes more than once a day. So it's recommended that you get morning sunlight for about 15 to 30 minutes after waking, and that's from direct exposure. So not through looking through your window or not through
Hmm.
wearing sunglasses or anything like that. Another thing as well is nighttime light exposure, which can actually have the opposite effect from daytime exposure because it reduces your levels of some hormones, including melatonin, which we
Mm.
all know is what helps you sleep. Blue light, which we all know as well from electronic devices like smartphones and computers, give off in large amounts, which if we're exposing, which we do, if we're exposing these blue lights out of the nighttime to our eyes, it keeps us awake. If you think about it in this regard, when you wake up, that's when you should be having the blue light because it's
Mm.
what wakes you up. So you should certainly not be having it at night if it's what wakes you up.
Yeah.
And there are several popular methods you can use to reduce nighttime blue light exposure. And these include wearing glasses that block blue light. It could even be simply, literally, just turning off the TV and any other devices. I've personally always lived by something called the 3-2-1 rule, which is 3 hours before bed, no heavy meals, 2 hours before bed, no more work, and then 1 hour before bed, zero screen time.
Hmm.
Now, a really, really important thing that I want to touch base on here that a lot of people underlook when it comes to sleep is caffeine. Now, a single dose of caffeine can enhance focus, energy, and sports performance. However, the authors of a 2023 research review found that late caffeine consumption reduced total sleep time by 45 minutes and overall sleep efficiency by 7%, which adds up. So, to be safe, it's a good idea to avoid drinking caffeinated beverages at least 8 hours before bedtime. And if you're taking a caffeine supplement, don't take it within 13 hours of bedtime. So things like pre-workouts or no dose is a very popular one
Mm.
as well.
Mm.
And if you find yourself craving a cup of coffee in the late afternoon or evening, just stick with a decaffeinated coffee because some of us do genuinely enjoy the taste and get that craving.
Yeah.
Um, Caffeine is also known to be almost like a drug
Mm.
because the way our bodies crave it. And another one as well is power naps. A lot of people like taking naps throughout the day to kind of help themselves get through that energy crash or that afternoon crash. But when it comes to bedtime, if you actually take a nap during the day, you're actually you're negatively impacting your nighttime sleep.
Mm.
And the reason why is because you're confusing your internal clock,
Yeah.
meaning that you might have a hard time, falling asleep at night. It's the same reason why you should have a consistent sleep schedule
Yeah.
because your body's circadian rhythms function on a set loop, right? And it at the end of the day, it doesn't really know the difference between sunrise and sunset as long as you're doing it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So just to end this off here, I do want to recommend a couple supplements that people should often be taking to help them relax and go to sleep. Um, One of the big ones is magnesium. Really, really good supplement.
Hmm.
Another one is nitrate, omega-3, and resveratrol. Resveratrol is not a supplement you necessarily need unless you lack in it. You can actually get this from antioxidants because that's where it's from, like your blueberries and certain foods like that.
Yeah.
And another one is zinc. Now, I do just want to say, while these supplements are not a magic bullet, sleep issues, they can definitely be useful when combined with other strategies like listed above.
Yeah.
So just make sure to try these supplements, one at a time to just test their effects on sleep because
Yeah.
everyone's different.
Awesome. And I think as we wrap this up, Coen, I think what you've covered is really important. At the end of the day, there's lots of excuses people could put in the place of getting exercise, getting enough sleep, eating correctly, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, let's just call it what it is. It's an excuse, right? Because they make a priority of building their business or seeing these clients. They can equally as easily make a priority to take those magnesium tablets or the zinc tablets, or not so much take a power nap, but make sure they get to bed at a reasonable period of time,
Yeah.
so they give themselves every opportunity for their body to recover. But if you combine that with the strategies you've talked about today, such as the exercise techniques, the relaxation techniques, the law of attraction, stuff like that, we put ourselves in a really strong position to create exceptional performance that hopefully is sustainable. And the most important thing, I think the key message is you can work your ass off to be really successful, but if you don't have your health, that you're in a place where you can enjoy that success, then what's the point? And that's the whole thing around this. So, mate, I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast and sharing those insights. Really, really fascinating conversation. For people that want to know more about you and also what you're doing at Peak AI Health, where's the best place for them to connect with you, my friend?
Probably Instagram is the best
Okay.
place, which is just at Coen, so COENN.F. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.
Perfect. Mate, thanks so much for being on the podcast. Greatly appreciate it. And you enjoy the rest of your wonderful day in the cold Gold Coast.
No worries. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. All the best. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.